So I'm still trying to figure out how to format these. I think I'll go from worst to best. So we'll start day by day. I didn't have enough time for certain days again, but we'll start with Mondays. So we'll start with the worst percentile, which I know isn't the best way to format this, because percentile doesn't mean much, but it's the only way I can really measure VDIM. So for me, it was the raw mouse control reload. I have a very hard time moving quickly from target to target. That's something I've noticed I have a huge issue with, is speed. I also tend to over-flick a lot. There's not much more to touch on there, so I'll just let it play, but you can see that there's quite a few shots into the wall. There's quite a few reloads as well, which is a bit of a problem. I could be doing better, I could be doing a lot worse though, but I only got the 14th percentile roughly, which means I'm in the 14th worst positions. I would like to get that a lot better. I think speed is a big aspect that I'm failing on when it comes to these trials. So I'm hoping that I can focus on that a bit more. Moving on to what I did best at, unfortunately, would be the horizontal. I didn't really set any real PBs this day. I only set scores that were below my prior bests, which some of my prior bests were set on higher sensitivities, but then again, this was a kind of warm-up day for me. I hadn't done this in a while, and it kind of shows. Again, there's some overflicking there. I'm still getting used to the new sensitivity I've set myself to. I've been on the sensitivity for 3 weeks, so after a while it is just human error too. I wish I could say this was my worst performance, but no, this was probably my better one for the day. A lot of having to micro flick back and not being sure if I'm on my target. I'll have to work on that more. I think clicking is steadily becoming my worst category instead of tracking, which is weird because I was very confident tracking was my biggest issue, but that is quickly changing. So I'll probably have to focus harder on these aspects of overflicking because it's actually a big problem for every category so far. On to Tuesday, my general issue with SOM Click Easy. I don't know what it is. I think it's just because it's a tracking clicking challenge, and I always thought my tracking was kind of weak to begin with. The truth be told, I have a few excuses that are also truths. I use a wired mouse, which makes 180-degree scenarios very difficult, especially when going towards the right side. I end up having not enough slack, and I can readjust as much as I want. It seems to keep seeping underneath, so I can have it good for 20 minutes, and then the next 20 are going to be hell if I don't fix it. Overall, I did have a lot of improvements this day, though. It might not look the best here, but a lot of my scenarios got new PBs, bar about 2 or so, and a couple of my scenarios went into the 70th percentile in scores, which is pretty good for clicking, which is something I am starting to doubt whether I'm good at or not. So we'll have to see where this goes from here on. I still think that I have to work on that a bit more, though. So for my best score that I set during VDIM, I had the V2 Passu Novice S5 Multi, which is a variation of one of the benchmarks. This one has to do with triple clicking, basically, so you have to get 3 semi-automatic shots on the same target for it to go away. I was fairly decent at this one. I ended up setting a score that's well above my average for this scenario, which is an 84.7 percentile. Normally I'd average around the 40 percentile, which is not bad at all. It's still under average, but it's pretty good. I don't know what it was about this. It started to just click with me, I guess, is what I'd have to say. It's not like I did anything immaculately different. I just suddenly started to understand what I was expected of for this scenario, which I think a lot of the benchmarks is just learning what you're supposed to be doing. So over time, if I were to keep practicing the same benchmark, I'm sure I'd get better and better. In this case, I did try it a few times, as you can see by the blue meter, which means that it's a personal best score of the day that I'm surpassing. So I'm quite happy with this one. Now on to the worst score for one of the first tracking challenges, was Smooth Sphere Diamond. So this score is a personal best. In fact, almost all of my scores on Wednesday were a personal best. Unfortunately, that personal best netted me the 9.2 percentile. I'm sure someone who is better, or even people that are just as skilled as I am, can see what is going on here. Any white mark on the wall is a shot into the wall. I'm spending more time shooting the wall and sort of predicting its movements than I am actually reactively tracking it. This is where I know that my shortcoming is for this. I'm working on it. It is getting better. I know it doesn't really look like it, but it is getting better. Everyone's going to start somewhere, but I need to be actively aware of the issue that I have, which is I'm reactively tracking this. It's not, or sorry, I'm predictively tracking this. Reaction is what I should be doing, but instead I'm predicting where it's going to go next most of the time. For my best, I ended up getting a pretty decent percentile on the VT PGT Novice S5 Bot 2, which is the second bot for one of the benchmarks. So it's just the same bot 3 times over instead of the 3 different bots in this situation. I got a 67.5 percentile. Which again, percentile doesn't mean a whole lot, but it is a way to measure progress outside of the benchmarks that have literal meters that show you so. This was an improvement overall. This is also a scenario I had never played before. That's why there's no meter up there. The first week around I didn't have time, which is something I'll say a lot. I don't have time, which is true. But again, I got small improvements across the entire board. Most scenarios, though, I'm still in the 30th percentile and below, which I'd like to improve that on, but for someone who was terrible at tracking, and still kind of is, it is nice to see that I can kind of keep up now, and it is reflecting somewhat in the games I play, which is kind of nice to see. So my absolute worst for Thursday was vertical, reactive, fixed, easy. I'm already bad enough at horizontal tracking. This was a whole different field for me. As you can see, I'm painting very abstract shapes on the wall. It's not great. I can definitely improve, but right now I'm just drawing letters and numbers and random signs on the wall while I try to chase a ball that I am trying my best not to predict the movements of. I'm trying to be reactive, and you can see that I'm trying my best the entire time to just stay on it. I don't really seem to shoot past it too often, which is an improvement, as much as this is a terrible example of it. As much as it pains me to say this, I'm pretty sure I got a 7.7th percentile on this, and it kind of shows. It also is extra soul-crushing when the term easy is at the end of a challenge, because this didn't feel easy, and I thought I was doing better than I was, but upon reflection, I clearly wasn't. And for the best of Thursday, it was Track Stop Gold, which I think was already my best score beforehand. I didn't set a PB this time, because my PB for this is already actually fairly high. But it was close enough that I included it and still think this is my best category. So I got a 71.2 as my best. I think I ended up in a 60-something as my score for this day, which is fine. It was close enough. I was on the mark a few times. The AI of the bot got me a few times with this switching back and forth over and over again rather than staying still, which of course that's going to affect your score if you're not on it. Overall, my aim is getting a little less stuttery. I'm still doing those little jumps, as you can see, like the prediction jumps, but that's going to take time. And I'm having a general easier time maintaining the speed of a target, at least some of the time. So in the higher speed challenges, I'm actually staying on it and trying to match the speed where sometimes it looks like I am not even trying at all to do so. It's taken time, but there are improvements that I am showing, and I hope it reflects in some of these clips. Now this is a category I especially just am terrible at. It's Pop Switch. So Pop Switch is a regenerating health pool usually, where things just kind of hop at a predictable angle and arc. I, for the life of me, have a hard time staying exactly on target the entire time, which is bad, because if things regenerate, they go right back to full health before you even know it. It's part of tracking. It's a good way to tell if you're tracking properly, because if this thing dies, you're doing a great job. If it doesn't die, you're doing a pretty bad job. It's fairly straightforward. I will say overall, I thought I did a lot worse at this. I got a 15.1 percentile, which is not bad for me, in my opinion. It's a switching score rather than a tracking score, but this is switching and tracking. It's the same thing. This is both skills are required to do this one well, so I don't take this one too personally. And to top it off, my very best for switching was the VT.TS Novice S5 Heart. The irony of this situation is I have not gotten gold on regular .TS yet. But for this one, I got 85.8 percentile, which goes to show a great case in point. The percentile doesn't mean exactly the entire story. It's just a metric I've been using to track myself for this video anyways. I will probably find a better metric later, but as it currently stands, it's hard to. But whatever works, works. It still shows progress. If I'm improving and PBing, it doesn't matter what I'm comparing myself to. If I'm breaking my personal best, I am improving. So it's good to have scores across the board so I can show it off, try again, and repeat. I will probably start focusing isolated problems though, because I do have a lot of issues. I find my switching speed has gotten a lot better though, and my overflicking is generally improving, but it still has room for improvement. Overall, I'm better at not leaving behind par damaged targets, although you can see it happen a few times in the clip, but I used to do it a lot more than that. Now, I hate to disappoint, but there was a problem I was having. So Saturday, I didn't have enough time to do anything, so I fully admitted that day it's just gone. I couldn't dedicate any time at all, or any meaningful time, even like 10 minutes wasn't an option. Sunday, however, I did try to, farm out some benchmarks, try to grind it out, get better and better, and I did get to do a little bit, as you can see here, which I'm doing not great. I don't think it's because I missed the training day, it might be an off day, but generally speed is my issue. I have a very, very hard time maintaining speeds, and that's what clicking is mostly about, is going fast accurately. I have a problem doing both, so that's going to take some time to work through. But I hate to disappoint. I didn't get a whole lot done on Sunday either, and it's not because of the fact that I didn't have time. It's because Kovaaks kept crashing. Every single time I went to switch a scenario, it would crash, and I just didn't have the patience. So unfortunately, I didn't get to grind a whole bunch. That doesn't mean I didn't set new benchmark scores, because the benchmarks are included inside of the days that I did. So I'm going to lay those up right now. So these are the old scores that I set from the last video. And these are the new ones. I've set a few new golds. Almost everything has moved up, so progress is being made. It sucks that I couldn't do more this week. I feel like I could have gotten into gold complete if I had the time. I just purely didn't. And I'm not going to beat myself up over it, but I did what I could, and I am improving at my own pace with the time I'm given. I appreciate it if you watched this far. I will keep doing this. Sorry, this will be uploaded late. I'm actually editing this on Monday night, so it happens. But here's a good example of Kovaaks soft crashing, and I'll have to hard close it at that point. And I had to do this for every single time I wanted to switch benchmarks. But thanks, and I'll try to get this one a little more timely next time.